In today's video, chaos erupts in Portland late last night outside an ICE detention facility. Also, the government shutdown continues. The Senate just failed to pass the latest funding bill. And finally, Democrats admit that they want the American people to feel pain. And all these stories, we're going to show you what both sides are saying and then give you the bottom line.
I can tell you things got pretty heated out here at the Portland ICE building last night. We witnessed a violent fistfight that left a man knocked out. We saw the burning of American flag, the macing of protesters, and multiple clashes with federal agents. We'll get right into the video to show you what we witnessed. Take a look. This was last night, one of those clashes. Federal agents bull rushing and arresting a protester who had stepped onto federal property despite repeated warnings. There was another protester taunting the agents on a megaphone, asking them what the feds were going to do about it if they walked on their property. Well, that guy found out. There was another video we had of agents chasing down and arresting a separate protester, though it's unclear what this woman was detained for. Now, take a look at this. We also witnessed a violent fight. These two guys had been jawing at each other all night long. Then the fists started flying. The man in the white shirt was pro-ICE. The man in the black shirt, anti-ICE. He was the one who got laid out with a punch to the face. Minutes later, we saw him appear to collapse and go limp with some serious swelling to his face. Federal agents had to carry him inside their building for medical attention. But guys, there was no Portland police around to intervene during any of this.
All right, so this madness that's happening in Portland is a prime example of why conservative values are much more valuable when it comes to governing a nation. If we just leave it up to progressives, they will continue to allow things like that to happen and then to allow it to get out of hand. We've seen what happened in Minneapolis. We've seen what happened in Los Angeles. And we can go on and on and on. But the bottom line up front, guys, as we go through this story again, I hope that this is showing the country another reminder of why we can't leave it up to Democrats to enforce law and order. Because according to them, they could care less about that. And I'm going to show you a clip proving my point. But get this, there are people burning the American flag right out front. And there was an investigative journalist that stepped in to stop it, and then he got arrested. Take a look.
Anti-ICE protesters also set this American flag on fire before it was then ripped away by independent journalist Nick Sorter. He grabbed that flag with the flagpole, put the flames out, took the flag away, leading to him being cussed out by the protesters. More on him in a moment. But lastly, I want to show you this incident. We witnessed this female protester get maced in the face by a federal agent for unknown reasons. She had been yelling at agents, but we didn't see anything physical. Well, Portland police officers who watched from the sidelines then walked over after this and began collecting videos of the macing from witnesses who saw it. Officers on scene told us they are reviewing the incident for potential federal wrongdoing. And back out here live at the end of the night, the Portland Police Bureau says they sent in their rapid response team, but that was after almost all of the violence and tension had already finished. Portland police say they ended up arresting 3 people, one of which we can confirm is independent journalist Nick Sorter, the guy we just showed you pulling the burning American flag away. We don't know exactly what he was arrested for just yet. We're working on getting those details, but a night of tension out here in Portland, and the National Guard still has not arrived on scene yet.
Now, he was eventually released, okay? So he's not in jail at this moment in time. However, obviously the Attorney General caught wind of this, and they are now investigating Portland for arresting him for no reason, really. All he was doing was preventing someone from burning up the American flag. Then here is a better clip of it so you could see it for yourself.
We got a Trump supporter. We got a Trump supporter right here.
Oh, he's putting it on the ground and he's making it worse. And now he's standing on it. Now he's standing on it. You're not supposed to stand on it. Oh, now I think he's saving it.
Yeah, so let's try to make sense of this. He's preventing the American flag from being burnt to a crisp, and he gets arrested. But the protesters who put their hands on him, assaulted him, damaged his camera, they walk free. I think that sums up exactly what the Portland Police Department is all about and the culture that exists there. In fact, it's the paradigm of Portland in general, in that whole area, if you think about it. Now, let's hear, in his own words, Nick Sorter and what happened to him. Take a look.
So they threw multiple punches at me. They broke my camera by hitting that. So I was on the ground at that point. I tried to swing, I missed. I saw the opportunity to get up and get away. And that's when I went over to the police officers, which I thought, maybe they'd help me. But no, instead they threw me in handcuffs. This is going to backfire on them tremendously. It already is, okay? People knew that something out here stunk and that it was corrupt and that the police they take the side of the violent criminals that are here every single day, assaulting ICE officers, assaulting journalists. And then a reporter comes and, tries to embed deep within the chaos that's going in out here, and he's the one that gets arrested?
All right, now here's a very serious question. Do you owe money when it comes to back taxes? Are your tax returns still unfiled? Did you forget to file for the extension? The October 15 deadline is fast approaching, and if you haven't done anything, the IRS could target you. What does that look like exactly? Well, they could garnish your wages, freeze your bank account, even seize your property. But help is available if you reach out to Tax Network USA, which is a nationwide firm responsible, by the way, for saving over $1 billion in tax debt for everyday Americans. They filed hundreds of thousands of tax returns, reducing people's tax burden, and they probably could help you too. And that's why I say don't wait. Go to tnusa.com/Tavory or call 1-800-958-1000. Speak to a consultant. It's 100% free, by the way. This could save you thousands of dollars, especially if you feel like you may or maybe you don't have a tax burden. But speak to the experts. Again, that is tnusa.com/Tavory or call 1-800-958-1000. Okay, so clearly the math does not add up on that. And as you guys know, this is what is to be expected from these cities like Portland. And that's why I support the Trump administration for sending in whatever resource they can to get this under control and to lay down the law. Because we know if we do it the way Democrats want it done, these people will continue to be emboldened and will continue to assault people they disagree with. That's just the bottom line to it. So they need to be dealt with, and that needs to happen like yesterday. Now, according to the Trump administration, this is an order from the president to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to send in additional troops to Portland. Hear the announcement from Caroline Leavitt herself. Take a listen.
President Trump will end the radical left's reign of terror in Portland once and for all. The president has directed Secretary Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other left-wing domestic terrorists. What's been allowed to happen in Portland, and we saw disturbing video footage of this last night, this is not peaceful protesting, this is left-wing anarchy that has been destroying this great American city for years, leaving police officers battered, citizens terrorized, and business properties damaged. Since early June alone, Antifa terrorists have laid siege to the ICE field office in South Portland. These radical left-wing lunatics have violently breached the ICE facility by using a stop sign as a battering ram, hurled explosives and other projectiles at law enforcement, repeatedly assault and dox officers, berate their law-abiding neighbors, and have even rolled out a guillotine in front of the ICE facility. And more people should be reporting on that.
Okay, well, number one, mainstream media is not going to talk about stories like this because it goes counter to their narrative. Everybody knows that at this point. That's why nobody trusts what they say. And number two, Democrats will continue to have, in my opinion, with majority of the American people, a lack of credibility on this issue because they refuse to condemn behavior like this. If you believe in your heart that what ICE is doing is wrong, why would you go commit crimes yourself? That doesn't make any sense. I just find that to be interesting. Now, number three, we have to understand the mindset of people who are in charge like a city like Portland or a city like Seattle. In fact, I have an example for you here. Here is the Seattle mayor speaking about what he would do for a repeat offender. Why is he speaking about this? This just came out yesterday because he's running for his reelection campaign. And during the debate, he talked about what he would do with a repeat offender. Take a listen.
If somebody has offended 6, 7, 8 times, even if it's a minor offense, but they continue to fail to turn their life around, at what point do you balance public safety to giving this person, some accountability? What is that balance?
So let me make something very clear. I was the one that sponsored the ban the box legislation when everyone opposed it because the criminal system has had a disparate impact on black and brown communities. Let me lead with that. So when this person is committing 6 or 7 crimes, I don't know his or her story. Maybe they were abused as a child. Maybe they're hungry. So my remedy is to find their life story to see how we could help first. I have no desire to put them in jail, but I need to protect you, and that's the calibration that we have. I put police officers on the stand. I've cross-examined them. So whether they commit 7 or 8 crimes to me is not the issue. The issue is, why are they committing these crimes? And so we have a health-based strategy. We authorized our fire department, for example, to be the first fire department in the country to administer buprenorphine. I want these people treated. So for me, it's not 7 or 8. It's how do I stop? How do I go upstream to find out what's in their life? But at the end of the day, I also have to protect you, and that's the calibration that we've done. And we are best practice in this country in doing it.
Ms. Wilson.
Well, it looks like he got a degree from the Gavin Newsom BS class of politics, because he doesn't make any sense in what he's saying. We have to calibrate that balance. No, clown. If someone commits a crime 7, 8 times, they belong behind bars permanently. I don't understand why that is so hard to accept. And here's the thing. Can they be rehabilitated later down the road? Of course they can. That's a possibility. There are people that turn their lives around after committing heinous acts, but they spent time in prison before all that happened. So what Democrats want is, let's try to change their life now and not actually have them experience accountability. Well, your paradigm doesn't shift unless you go through things. You have to be held accountable so you can get a different perspective for the people that do change. And some people just don't. That's just who they are. They have been programmed to commit crimes, and they will continue to do so for the rest of their lives. Doesn't matter how nice you want to be to them. They are criminals. But unfortunately, Democrats don't see it that way. Now, let's go to our next story. This is about the government shutdown once again. And there was a vote that just took place, and it's official. The government shutdown will continue to happen over the weekend. Take a look.
We're following breaking news on the government shutdown fight. Just moments ago, the Senate failed to pass a Republican bill to end the stalemate and reopen the government. That vote came after a Democratic bill to reopen the government also failed to get 60 votes. Those back-to-back no votes all but guarantees that the shutdown will extend into next week. We're joined now by California Democratic Senator Alex Padilla. Senator, thank you so much for being with us. I want to get your thoughts, not on the specific claims from Republicans about benefits going to the undocumented, because we fact-checked that, and under federal law, undocumented immigrants cannot get federal benefits like Medicaid. But I do want to ask you about another argument that's related that the White House is making. They argue that states like California do provide benefits like Medi-Cal, regardless of immigration status, using state dollars that are only available because California uses billions in federal dollars through provider taxes to offset certain costs. So in a way, they're arguing that federal benefits are going to undocumented migrants, even though Medi-Cal uses state dollars. How do you answer that?
Yeah. Talk about a stretch, Boris, to justify their position, to justify their lies. Here's the simple truth. As you fact-checked, federal funds are not allowed to provide healthcare services for undocumented people in the United States, period.
Well, the good thing for us is we have a clip to show you that contradicts exactly what he is saying. It is true that federal dollars are not allowed to pay for healthcare when it comes to illegal aliens. But it's also true that California and other states just like them, they found a loophole. And that loophole is very simple. Federal government gives us funds for Medicaid. That frees up more funding that we can use from our state revenue to pay for healthcare when it comes to illegal aliens. So if the government did not send federal funds to these states, then the state wouldn't be able to fund healthcare to illegal aliens. And that's essentially what's been happening in California, which is why the Medi-Cal program is in shambles at this point. It went bankrupt. Take a look at this.
Amid the shutdown fight, Democrats claiming health care for illegals isn't a part of their platform. But it turns out it's already happening in California big time by the billions. And your tax dollars are paying for it. So don't pay attention to that. Last year, the Golden State spent nearly $6.5 billion on health insurance for migrants. And through a Medicaid loophole has shifted most of the cost to the federal government.
Okay, so let me break down exactly how this scheme from California works. The federal government is responsible for matching Medicaid costs or expenses from a state at a percentage level somewhere between 50 to 70%. Okay, so whatever the state says, hey, we had to spend money to provide this Medicaid program, the federal government will match. Now, California has found loopholes and different ways to get this from 50% almost to 90%, meaning the federal government is literally funding the entire healthcare system for California when it comes to people who are American citizens. So as a result, they use all that tax revenue as a state to fund healthcare for illegal aliens. And so that's why you have what you have. And that's why, in my opinion, they're manipulating the system. Okay. And if they had it their way, which happened back in 2021, they'd actually want to enforce this at the federal level. But of course, that was removed from the one big, beautiful bill. Now, I think the more important question is, how do Americans feel about this government shutdown and who do they blame? Well, if we go to CNN, I don't think the answer will shock you. Take a look.
Blame more for the 2025 shutdown. Who do Americans blame more? They blame Republicans. The New York Times, by 7 points, they blame Republicans in Congress and Donald Trump. Marist, look at that. Blame Trump and Republicans by 12 points. How about Washington Post? By a 17-point margin. When you look at the data, what you're actually seeing is that more Americans are blaming Republicans than Democrats, which I think really goes against the conventional wisdom, because a lot of folks are saying, hey, Democrats are so divided. But at this particular point, Americans are placing the blame on the Republican shoulders, at least the plurality of them are.
Well, here's some added context to these polls that we just saw. And I'm not even going to get into trying to, I guess, fact check them. I will just say this. Do these polls about a government shutdown have any impact on a midterm election? Absolutely not. We have to understand how much news happens in 1 week. You think people are going to remember this government shutdown next year? No. So I think the bottom line to it, it's the same that it's always been, that I've been saying. It's just results matter. If the economy improves, I mean, I don't see how the Democrats win the midterms. That is just me. But according to CNN, the American people are going to blame Republicans. So it takes us to what MSNBC is now saying, which is that this is a win-win for President Trump, and Democrats should be somewhat on notice about that because this is not a good look for them either. Take a look.
I think Tim's point is a really important one to underscore here. What you're hearing from President Trump is something really different than we've heard in previous rounds of government shutdowns. Donald Trump now calls this a, quote, unprecedented opportunity. What's the opportunity? He views himself in sort of a win-win situation, it seems to me right now. He wins from his perspective if Democrats cave after having, insisted upon this fight, right? So that would be one version of winning. Another version of winning is his agenda to expand executive power and to further cut the government. That is the agenda of Russ Vought and many of those surrounding Donald Trump. It's essentially the extension of the decades-long Republican war on the government. So he's not looking to defend the federal workers who've been put out on furlough. That's why it muddies the message as far as some congressional Republicans go. They just want to win a fight in a more conventional Capitol Hill sense. Well, Donald Trump doesn't really care about Congress. He doesn't really care about process. He doesn't really care about a short-term kind of tactical victory over Senate Democrats. What he's looking for always is to aggrandize his power. And I think that the problem for Democrats is that Donald Trump now sees this as a win-win situation for himself.
Well, that is an interesting theory that MSNBC is floating, but I don't think it's the most controversial one that they came up with today, which I'm going to show you the next one here. But I will say this. No one likes a government shutdown. You've seen the poll from CNN that says Republicans will be blamed for this. Fine. I think in the end, results do matter. And as we continue to move forward, Democrats continue to repeat the same behavior, which is they react to whatever the president is doing, which means they're not organized. They're not doing anything to really help the American people because they spend all their time fighting against the president. So I think that is the reality. And so let's go to this clip. This is basically MSNBC saying, you know what, maybe it is a good idea to allow the government shutdown to continue to happen because the American people need to know what it feels like when Republicans are in charge. Take a listen.
Plenty of folks on the left who say, you know what, if Republicans have done this and they control all branches of the government, we should allow the American people to feel the pain of what Republican policies are. I mean, you can't keep, if you want to touch the stove, at some point you got to let them touch the stove. And this is a terrible thing to have to say, because millions of people will be hurt by it. But this is, what's the other option, right? They have to see the consequences of what Republican policies will do to them and their families. And Democrats keep bailing them out.
Okay, so intentionally wanting the American people to feel pain because you have a political disagreement with the president, I think is political suicide. But I'm not a political strategist whatsoever. I'm just some guy on YouTube, right? I just don't see the logic in that type of thinking. And of course, I think it's a mistake in my opinion. But to try to convince Democrats of doing something differently, I think is talking to a wall. I think they only know one way to operate right now, and that is to be defiant, to be aggressive, to be violent, to not be in a collaborative effort, to not speak like a Senator John Fetterman as an example, but to be like a Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass or Brandon Johnson or Ghetto Jasmine Crockett or unhinged AOC. Like, these are the people who are the loudest in that party, much louder than Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. So I think that's the road they're going down, and it's just going to lead to more disaster for them. However, I want to get your guys' reaction in the comment section below to both these stories. Number one, is the government shutdown impacting you in a negative way? I really want to hear from you personally, because there's so much noise on social media and in mainstream media, but I want to hear from you. And secondly, what do you make of what happened in Portland in regards to the police refusing to do their job? In fact, they went a step further and arrested an independent journalist for stopping someone from burning the American flag. If you had it your way, what would you do about Portland? Give me your thoughts, your opinions, and everything else in the comment section below. Now, this takes us to our next video, where ICE conducted a successful immigration raid at an apartment complex in Chicago. This has Mayor Brandon Johnson losing his mind over it. So if you guys missed out on the details of that story and more updates from yesterday, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.